In one of the wealthiest countries on Earth, it may be surprising to learn that some states face economic struggles similar to developing nations. In this video, we'll explore the 10 poorest U.S. states in 2025 based on the latest data and analysis. 1. Mississippi. We begin with Mississippi, the state with the highest poverty rate in the nation. Around 19.4% of its residents live below the poverty line. That's nearly 1 in 5 people earning under $25,000 a year. Shockingly, that's similar to the poverty rate of Namibia in Africa. Mississippi's struggles stem from a mix of high unemployment, 6.85%, low educational attainment, and limited job opportunities. Until recently, 1 in 4 residents didn't finish high school. When you search for Mississippi online, even Google asks, "Why is Mississippi so poor?" The answer, a cycle of undereducation and lack of economic development has left the state, trailing behind for decades. 2. Louisiana. Next up is Louisiana, another southern state facing serious financial challenges. Over 19% of people here live in poverty, and the average family earns just about $46,000 annually. But it doesn't stop there. Louisiana ranks last in the nation for gender income equality, third worst for food insecurity, and also third worst in education rankings. Economic growth is hard to achieve without a skilled workforce. Many here feel stuck in poverty, and with a sense of hopelessness, some residents believe things will never change. 3. West Virginia. West Virginia has a poverty rate of 18%, and families here earn an average of $44,000 a year. While those numbers are low, there are a few silver linings. The unemployment rate isn't as high as you might expect, and the cost of living is among the lowest in the country, meaning families can stretch a dollar further. However, the state still struggles. It's the only U.S. state where deaths outnumber births, and more people are leaving than coming in. It paints a picture of a population quietly fading away. 4. New Mexico. Let's talk about New Mexico, where roughly 1 in 5 residents lives below the poverty line. With an average household income of around $46,000, that's nearly $10,000 less than the national average. One of the most heartbreaking stats? 1 in 3 children in New Mexico is growing up in poverty. A major reason the state often ranks last in the country for raising a family. New Mexico also tops the list of federally dependent states. That means it doesn't generate enough tax revenue on its own and relies heavily on federal funding to support essential services like education, healthcare, and infrastructure. Just like Louisiana, large parts of New Mexico's budget are propped up by Washington. 5. Alabama. Next, we head to Alabama, where the economic picture isn't much brighter. The average household income here is around $46,000, and nearly 20% of residents live in poverty. Why is Alabama struggling so much financially? Well, opinions differ. Some blame economic systems and lack of regulation, while others point to personal responsibility and work ethic. Whatever the cause, the reality remains troubling. In some Alabama counties, poverty rates exceed 40%, making them resemble impoverished regions in developing nations. It's gotten so serious that even the United Nations conducted a study here. Their findings? Living conditions in parts of Alabama mirrored those typically seen in third world countries. Sobering, isn't it? Coming in 6th is Arkansas, a state where financial hardship still affects many. The poverty rate here is 16%, and families earn about $52,000 annually. Yes, that's a little better than some of the other states on this list, and thanks to Arkansas's lower cost of living, those dollars go further. But that doesn't mean life here is easy. Historically, Arkansas was once the poorest state in the U.S., with poverty rates close to 50% back in the 1940s. Thankfully, the situation has improved over the decades, but for many residents, economic progress has been slow and uneven. 7. Kentucky. Coming in next is Kentucky, where the average household income is just over $46,000, placing it among the bottom 5 in the U.S. economically. About 1 in every 5 residents lives below the poverty line. Now, there is a bit of a silver lining. The unemployment rate isn't as dire as in some other states, which means there are jobs, just not the kind that pay well enough to lift families out of poverty. In parts of Kentucky, people get creative to make ends meet, from working side hustles to donating plasma for extra cash. While some parts of the state are rich in culture and history, economically, many residents are still fighting to break free from generational poverty. 8. South Carolina, the 7th poorest state in the country. The poverty rate here hovers around 16.9%, and the average household income is just under $50,000. For many families, that means scraping by week to week. Even more concerning, nearly 90% of adults in South Carolina live paycheck to paycheck, significantly higher than the national average. It's a tough reality that many face daily. A common thread we see in the South is historical economic stagnation. While northern states industrialized, the South stayed rooted in agriculture, a path that often meant slower progress in areas like education and infrastructure. Those effects are still felt today. 9. Nevada. Now, here's one you might not expect. Nevada. Despite the glitz of Las Vegas and the growth of Reno, Nevada ranks as one of the poorest states in America when you consider income inequality and underemployment. The poverty rate is about 12.9%, which may not sound extreme, but the unemployment rate is one of the highest in the country at over 7%. The wealth here is concentrated in pockets, and once you leave the tourist cities, much of Nevada feels economically forgotten. People are working hard, but job growth outside entertainment and hospitality has lagged behind. Still, there's hope. With Nevada slowly becoming more progressive, there's potential for change. Rounding out the list at number 10 is Michigan. A surprising entry perhaps, but one that reflects shifting economic realities. The state's average income sits at $63,202, which isn't low nationally, but wealth here is unevenly distributed. Michigan cities like Detroit and Flint continue to struggle, often making headlines for economic hardship, aging infrastructure, and lack of affordable housing. Despite decent employment rates, homelessness and housing insecurity are growing issues. As housing costs rise nationally, more people are at risk of losing shelter, and Michigan is no exception. According to national data, over 582,000 people were homeless in the U.S. on a single night in 2022, and experts fear that number will grow. In response, some cities have begun passing laws that criminalize sleeping in public. A controversial move that advocates warn only worsens the problem.